Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Sales Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Ben Comber, and with me today is Brett Chell, the ex-tech CEO, currently unemployed, I suppose. With a lot in the pipeline, right?
Sure. Yeah. Always.
So happy to have you on, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Well, obviously, we got connected. I guess I got put on to you because you did kind of a coaching call for a lot of us guys, and your story is just crazy, frankly. And so, without wasting too much time, I'd love to hear a little bit more, and I know that people would love to hear more about kind of your background. I think you're the CEO of a major tech company, right?
Yeah.
And I love to hear kind of like the beginnings of how that started and where this kind of entrepreneurial side of you came from.
Okay, cool. So the company that I was CEO of was called Cold War. I'm so trained in my pitching and my public speaking. It's like, tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you told them.
Right.
So yeah, Cold War as a CEO was a communications company in fracking. I won't get into more detail because it's super boring, but right now it's the world's largest communications company in frack. And so I started that from nothing, two guys in a closet 10 years ago. I used to work on oil rigs and I just knew there was a problem. And so that'll be the journey.
Yeah.
Gotcha. To then getting fired by the board and now moving from Texas to Utah and starting a tech accelerator type thing, creative space, which is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So yeah, wow.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the roots was working on an oil rig in Texas, was it? Or because you're from Canada? I mean, that's the fun thing there. But was it working?
Is it fun? Canada? You're from Canada?
I guess. I mean, my grandma's from Canada, so she's from.
Americans don't know shit, so you don't even have to bother. They're like, Saskatchewan?
Yeah.
Where's Ontario? Is that by Calgary?
Somewhere up there in North. My brother actually, he served his mission up in outside Ontario.
Oh, right.
He spoke the French thing and stuff like that, or maybe it's Calgary, whatever one, but speaks French.
There it is. It's like Calgary is a city on the west side of the country. Ontario is a province on the east side.
Yeah,
it's my favorite thing about Americans. They don't know shit. What's a province? What's a city? And they couldn't care less about knowing shit.
Yeah, it's just like no desire. I'm not even gonna apologize for getting it wrong because
it doesn't matter. Like, what are you guys doing up there anyway? How many people up there? Like 50?
Yeah. There's a couple up there just freezing up at the Eskimos, right?
Yeah. My favorite thing about the States, they don't give a shit. They're like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but I mean, you're moving down here, right? And so you're moving down here. So I think you've done a lot of your work and spent a lot of time down here, right?
Yeah. Most like I was living in Texas for the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I moved my company from. Well, I expanded my company from Canada into the States. Obviously, way bigger market and all the reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Texas is kind of like the Alberta where I'm from in Canada. This is kind of like the same thing. It's like all the oil and gas is in Alberta and in Texas, obviously.
Yeah.
So, that, and I was also our clients, I did a lot of money raising for Cold War, and another drilling company, Raptor Rig, that I was part of.
Okay.
There's a couple of big stories there.
Yeah.
But probably, and then before that, a few tech companies that we started like 10 years ago. I was working for essentially an accelerator in California where they're the ones that taught me private equity, venture capital, how to raise money, craft financial narratives, shit.
Yeah.
So to raise this $50 million over the last 10 years for these companies, I was traveling all over the place.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, still in Pittsburgh, Killen, stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously more into that. Kind of rewind it a little bit. I mean, you don't just become join in a tech accelerator and start a tech company without having some kind of like background usually. But at the beginning, you said that you work on oil leaks. So
yeah, where
the dogs
line makes sense.
Yeah.
So my quick background is technically didn't graduate high school. Kind of dropped out in grade 12. Got mine down, got the pictures because I was good friends with the vice principal, and I said, my parents are going to want to see this. I missed it by like 5 credits. It was not like I didn't. Anyway, I was just like, I didn't care. Yeah, it's gone already.
But you already kind of wheeled and dealed it so that when you had the appearance of it. Okay, that's cool.
My vice principal, Tim, he's cool shit. He was like, look, I don't really care. Like, get your thing and go get your pictures. Like, it doesn't. And so technically I did finish high school. I just went straight to work, which schools wasn't for me. I'm like, well, I was classic, entrepreneurial, can't pay attention, ADD, likes to paint, draw, artist. Yeah. So structure is just was not my thing. Yeah, I was younger. Went to work some odd jobs for a while, and then went to the drilling rigs at like 23, 24 years old. Even that was a thing to do then. Not make a bunch of money. It was where I was getting paid. And so did that for 6 or 7 years. And that was probably that's formative time for sure. Because I don't know, I think people have an idea of what it's like on oil rigs.
I don't think they do. Like, I've lived in Texas for the majority of like my adult life. And so I've lived in Midland and Odessa, and then I've lived in Beaumont, Texas for 2 years. Which,
why in Midland? And oil and gas.
Security systems, because the crime rate I was doing security back then. So crime in Midland is crazy. So, and crime in Beaumont, Texas is
not exactly the most beautiful place on earth.
And then Beaumont and Port Arthur is crap as well. And then thankfully we settled in Dallas. So I'd make a joke. I'm like, I know more about the oil and gas industry than anyone else who's not in the oil and gas industry, because I'm selling people who are in it, and they tell me all about it, right?
Yeah.
So oil, Midland, Odessa, pulling it out of the ground. Dallas is transferring of it. And then freaking Houston area is the refinement of it, right? So I kind of saw all sides of like this industry substance.
Yeah. Houston's refinement and corporate. Like most to the big headquarters. There's some in Dallas, there's some in Midland too. Yeah. Midland's a crazy place. It's a small little bovine town with a lot going on, making a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie, I'm too much money now. So.
But yeah, you said like people don't know what it's like. I think people don't know what it's like at all on those things.
Yeah. Okay, well, so working on a drilling rig, like I was on a drilling rig, which is the worst of the worst, the roughest of the rough.
Yeah.
What's an analogy? I'm trying to think of a movie. It's basically a mini prison. Like a carnival prison that travels around. Yeah, so 20 inmates. Like all of our crew will just drive our trucks around from small crappy town to crappy town. We were in everywhere from the Northwest Territories down to New Mexico. Every worst space you could think of, like minus 50 to plus 50. Sometimes we'd have guards guarding in Mexico when we're drilling down there. They had to have armed guards at the lease entrance because the cartels would come steal shit or try to take us and kidnap us and ransom.
Yeah.
And the people that are on there are all like the rough. Every second night you go out drinking and you're just ostracized if you don't go with the crew to the bar. Like the tool, or she's the boss.
Mm-hmm.
He would literally say like, he'll go easier on you if you go drinking with him.
Really?
Yeah. If you don't go out, you'd want to get sleep because you got a 12-hour day of tripping pipe in the sun. That's going to be the most arduous physical thing you've ever done.
Yeah.
You don't go out drinking, you're doing all shit jobs.
Because you slept.
Yeah. Because you stayed home and don't go party.
Yeah.
And then every time you go get drunk with these 5 or 6 guys, and they're all brothers, like great guys. I'm not putting these people down. These are my brothers. They're who I grew up with.
Yeah.
But rough.
Yeah.
And like fighting every second night. You'd be in bar fights with the locals because you're this 6 to 10 man crew that would go into a small town. There'd be 2 shifts, so there's 20 new guys in this little bar where it's the same 5 guys or 10 guys with the same 5 girls, and be in that, and you can imagine how that goes.
Yeah,
so like that. But they're also small town farmers, natives, like they're up for it.
Yeah,
like they're there, to fight.
It was like everyone's congregating there for a reason, right?
So,
but are you like a super rough dude? Like, did you feel like you belonged there?
To be honest, the first day I went out there, I was scared shitless. Yeah, I was, and it's crazy. Like you're driving out to the middle of think of a field somewhere in the middle of Wyoming.
Yeah,
and you're with these 3 guys that you never met, and they're pretty rough, big dudes, and they just drive out and they don't want to talk to you. And there's a culture back then. It's not like that anymore. This is 20 years ago. But there's a culture of like, I got run hard, so you're gonna get run hard. So they don't want to be nice to you.
Yeah.
And like stuff because they got treated like shit.
Yeah.
I remember the first or second night I was there, 12 hours tripping pipe, and I'm like, when do we get breaks? And they just like looked at me, and I'm like, okay, so don't ask questions.
That's great. Yeah.
No lunch, no nothing, just nothing. Like there's none of that. It's not even talking about it.
Yeah.
You feel stupid for asking because you know you're in a hard spot, like you're in with prisoner type mentality.
Yeah.
And you just kind of get that feeling. You're like, I shouldn't be asking questions.
Yeah.
And on the third day, I went in to eat some food because we had a break. And tripping pipe is when you're pulling pipe out of the hole.
Right.
So they'll lift up, you'll throw your tongs, they have like great connection.
Yeah.
a lot of shit flying all over your head. I was just like, Jesus Christ, you don't stand under this thing, do you? And it's just like this huge steel drill top drive running up and down. Yeah, pipe and chains. And I'm like, first of all, learning to stand under that while it's all moving is like, yeah, you're like, yeah, but you eventually get used to it, and then you're just in there, and then so you just break it off, lift the pipe, throw slips, throw the chains, do this. It's super. You're like pushing heavy stuff. Another one. It's like so hard, and then you finally get a break. Yeah, finally get a break. I go into the thing, and they're drilling or circulating, and I go to eat some food, and I'm sitting on a bucket eating my food in the tool shack, like trying to hide. Yeah, because I'm supposed to be cleaning, scrubbing, moving, do something else on that. Yeah, and my push comes in from the other door behind me, and my lunch is on the floor, and he just picks it. Yeah, all the lunch all over the leaves, and I'm so hungry. Yeah, and he's like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, and tell you to come have lunch. Yeah, get out there, get to work. I was like, oh no, this sucks. Yeah, and so you kind of were stuck in it, but you stayed in it for, you said 6 years? 6 years, yeah. Hey, was just the money was really good, or were you just at a place in your life where that's just the best you thought you could do? I don't know. Actually, I met so at the time my sister was dating a guy, but I ended up going to work for him he was the tool push, he was the boss, and I was the lease on it. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, I actually liked him, and me and him got along real good. And he was my age, but he had been working out there his whole life. Mm. And me and him became like actual brothers. Yeah. And so I just stuck with him, and then I ended up moving up and going out there. Really, he was the reason why I stayed out there. Oh, actually, yeah. Cool. So I mean, you're obviously you had to have got to a point where you were either fed up with it, or you just saw better alternatives. What kind of helped you transition away from that kind of like? I mean, you'd be out there working, and your other guys, you get your crew mixed up every once in a while, and have a new guy come in and whatever. Mm-hmm. And you'd be out there working on that floor, and then the guy's doing meth in the doghouse that's your boss while you're working. Wow. And I'm like, and I'm just not that. Like, never been a drug guy. Never, like, I'll go work hard. Yeah. And I'd go party, and sure, I'll get in a street fight just because I had a fucking problem, I guess. But that was it. After that, I'm not into the rest of it. Yeah. And so there's limits for me, and eventually it just wore me out. Like, you go away for 2 weeks and you miss. I have a lot of empathy for those guys because we work shift work. Now, probably similar in sales. Like, you get some of this. I don't know. You leave for 2 weeks and you come back for a week. And 3/4 of your life that you're not living. You're on a drilling rig. You sleep all night for 12 hours, and then you work for 12 hours on a rig with the same 4 guys. And you just do that. That's it. And sometimes up north, it was in the dark because we were way, way up north. Oh, wow. And so like 30 days in a row, you don't see sunlight. You just get in your truck, do your thing, go back up to -50. You're sleeping in a room that's the size of this room with 2 beds with some strange that it stinks. And it's like, you're in a man camp, and you're just like, what am I doing? Yeah. This is my life. I'm grateful what? And eventually, as much as I love my brother, like, there was a lot of loyalty there because we'd be given new rigs. We were a fast crew. We get the shining new shit. Yeah. And the bosses of the oil companies would notice us and drag us onto the new stuff because we were their champion crew, blah, blah, blah. And you just had to have like a progression in that aspect, right? It's like, hey, we're building something, we're becoming good. But at the end of the day, it got too much with the lifestyle. Yeah. That's basically it. Yeah. So, I mean, where was your outlet? What was kind of like the saving, something to help you get out of that? Nothing. Really? No. I just quit one day, like out of the blue. I just had it. I just went up to the doghouse, told Kevin, my brother-in-law, I was like, I'm done. Did he say, what are you going to do? Yeah. He's like, what are you going to do? And it's hard because when I was only 24 and you're making $150,000 a year or something, this is 20 years ago. Yeah, that's huge. And then you're going to go to zero. And you have no discernible skill after high school. There was no solar. There was no Instagram. There was no, like, you're back to $60,000 a year. Well, maybe. At some job in the city that you hate. Yeah, you hate it just as much. Good. Yeah. So that was when I decided I'm completely and totally unemployable. Yeah. 100%. Don't like working for other people. Don't want to work for other people. Have to do something creative. That's just what I love doing. So I wanted to start a business. I talked to some mentors, actually. I'm like, hey, there's a gap in the market for this in oil and gas. I think I can make that. Yeah. I'm just a dumbass. I have no idea what I don't know. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And you're like, oh, great. Okay. Good for you. And I talked to 2 guys that were finance guys, private equity. And they're like, okay, so your idea is this. Mm-hmm. that's going to be a lot of money. Like, developing software and developing hardware, and that's tens of millions. And I'm like, great. So how do I get that?
Yep. With no experience at all.
That was the reason why it probably got where it got.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's like a lot of these coaches online, it's going to now be. We look online and you see these guys with like millions of followers.
Yeah.
And they're yelling at them, and they're fucking dumbasses.
Yeah.
They don't know shit. They've never built an actual company that's been profitable at any scale.
Yeah.
They hear shit, they regurgitate shit, but they regurgitate it with confidence. Those guys are, the reason why they're successful is because they're not not always, sometimes.
Sure.
They're just dumb.
Yeah.
And so they're not overthinking doing things, and they don't have any other options.
Yeah.
So they just start doing it, and they don't care.
Yeah. They don't care if they sound dull. They don't care if people think that they're frauds or whatever. They're just acting, and they have passion, and they're just doing it. Well, one thing I've kind of learned about you, just since you've been moving back down to Utah, and through your social media, frankly, how me able to keep up with this stuff.
Sure.
It's been really interesting with this new project we'll talk about more later, that you're like, yeah, I'm just going to put myself physically in a place where I can have conversations with people that are going to propel me forward. Right. So, I mean, for example, I feel like it's kind of overlooked, and you said you were talking to financial news. Well, how did you get that conversation done?
You mean back then? Or
back then.
Back then.
If they weren't good friends of yours, like, how did you, because I feel like a lot of people always struggle with just even a first step. Like, well, how can I connect? Or you said you had mentors.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where do those mentors come from?
Everybody has this. That's the thing, is like, you just have to, people way overthink this. I'll give you an example for a bar, because I've met some unreal people in Salt Lake in the last 3 weeks, probably 10 people that are decision maker, like really unbelievable people.
Yeah.
And they're just not that hard to have a conversation with.
Yeah. You don't have any, I mean, you had obviously said some of the network here, but you didn't really have a network in Agora, which is like the shared, we're going to talk about that later, but
yeah,
you didn't have anything in that space. So I just made it happen.
That's right. And so this is what I'm saying. Like, it's a matter of perspective, because we all have networks. Always. Well, you could be a 14-year-old kid. You have a network. Talk to your dad, talk to your uncle, talk to your thing, and talk to someone. They all know someone that knows someone that knows someone. And that's the process.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks it's harder than it is. I'd challenge anyone in Utah. Like, if we sat down and did a podcast, we could bring in any random person, sit them down, go on their Instagram, and get within 2 degrees of a very influential person of any industry. Yeah, 2 degrees. I guarantee you know someone on there that knows someone that is good friends with a person, right, in the industry. Yeah, absolutely. Small lake.
Yeah, right. Well, it's kind of cool. I mean, that's the one saving grace of LinkedIn, and I guess back in the day when it was a little bit less crazy, but like, you could see, like, holy crap, I know this person, and they know that person. Right, that person is huge or whatever like that. And so I love that it's part of your story, is that you quit, didn't have any plan, and then the way you made it work was you found a way to connect with people that had the information that you wanted.
Yeah, and you just got to start doing, because I didn't know this at the time. So anyone listening that listen to this, it's like, if you don't if you can't conceptualize what we're talking about, perfect. Yeah. It's just that you have to go ask someone. Yeah. So pick something. You're probably going to be wrong, might be right. Pick. As you start to do stuff, the path reveals itself. Right. Because that guy, whoever girl you pick to talk to, will know what you're trying to do. And they'll be like, okay, this guy needs a little guidance, and they'll point you in another direction. Yeah. And then you're just going to keep doing it. It's physically putting yourself in a place where you can learn more, and then you can also get more relationships. Yes. I'm just huge. I say this almost every podcast. I'm like, dude, like, so many guys have things and ideas or whatnot, but they keep it inside, or they'll tell like a couple people. Yeah. Like, if you have an idea that you think is good, instead of keeping it inside and thinking about it forever, thinking it's a good idea, why don't you take it to the marketplace? Why don't you start telling everyone you know about this awesome idea, and then get feedback, get lots of data points, to the point where you're like, oh, holy crap, just through conversations alone, I've now realized that that's a terrible idea. Right. But through these conversations, I met with a third person, and they showed me how it could be a lot better. And then boom, now you have a different idea. So for you had this awesome idea of how it could be better. They told you to spend tens of millions of dollars, and you said, okay, how do I do that? And did they give you the key to success right then, or did it take a lot harder searching to find it? Yeah. So give me the actual exact things that happened. So that's relatable. Once I talked to those finance guys, and they kind of illuminated to me, like, you don't really think through this because that's really expensive. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's expensive. I've never done software or hardware or anything. And I never owned a business. So I don't even know how to form one. They're like, well, here's what you should do. Just go talk to these guys. You need to learn about finance and business because you do go to university for it, but you're telling us that you want to start a business that is X. This business needs to be funded by private equity because you can't bootstrap this. Yeah. This isn't a lemonade stand or a trading card store. Yeah. So first of all, they gave me the guidance on what I learned in that meeting was there's a difference between lifestyle businesses and actual businesses that private equity would invest in. And I didn't even know that. I'm like, oh, okay, I never had that frame of context. Mm-hmm. So then they're like, okay, well, you probably should go learn somehow about private equity and invest capital. Turns out I had an uncle that was a guy who was a merchant banker. Oh. And so talked to him, and he's like, oh, we're doing this thing in California where we help funding for startups and all that stuff. That's actually a great place for you to go. Calgary, California, between the two. You get a look at a lot of tech companies, startups. You understand what they're trying to do to fund and where their gaps are. And when they talk to bankers, you get to sit on the other side of that table. And you see what the bankers are saying to them, like, what is a structured funding? How do you raise money? What is the difference between VC and PE? Yeah. Do you learn about an A round, a B round, a C round, a D round? Yeah. How do you craft financial narratives? Are people going to be attracted to it? When and how and what do they respond to? Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go do that. And so I took $40,000 a year was my salary.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So you're just doing like a kind of side job there and like administrative or?
I'm better at sales and storytelling. And so my job was to help craft financial narratives and work with the entrepreneurs inside the companies, to start figuring out what their pitch is. Oh, cool. Okay, awesome. And that's what they said to me. They analyzed, they assessed me, and they're like, I think you go here. Awesome. And then you go over there. That's the value you can bring. And then you just got to do that for a few years so that you learn the process and what's going on here.
So something that's crazy about that is that you didn't know, it sounded like you didn't know that you had that talent per se. So that you found someone that helped you see that in yourself.
Correct.
Wow. And then you said, okay, cool. If you say I'm good at it, I'll take your word for it. Let's go. Flew over to California and you worked for them. That's amazing.
So just get the room with the right guys. Yeah. And they're like, oh, you're personable. You're easy to have conversations with. And they said, tell us what you think about your business. And I kind of laid out a vision for it. And they're like, that's a pretty good vision. Now, you don't know technically how to get there.
Yeah.
But it's crazy that you articulated that much vision with more training.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, so we think that you have a natural talent there. So go here. Let's see.
Yeah. That's really awesome, though, that you kind of learned how to, like, give, it sounds like, entrepreneurs and businesses a voice and, like, how to, like, sell, like, the product to people. I mean, that's a super valuable thing to learn. How old were you at that accelerator for you?
4 years?
4 years. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
4 years of learning the ins and outs of a business. During that time that you were working, were you also working on the business, or we're just focusing on learning everything you could?
Yeah. Was it building financial narratives and helping them raise money?
Yeah.
Pitch after pitch after pitch for other people's kind.
Yeah. So I guess when did you get to the point where you felt like you could bring that idea back into the surface?
Yeah, it was like that 4 or 5 year mark, and I was still working with the same group. We had done 4 different tech companies. 2 of them had gone 100 million plus market cap. So 2 have been pretty successful that we actually built so entrepreneurs that come to us are like the guy with the thing.
Yeah.
Like me at the time. But they don't know how to raise money. They don't know how to structure business. So we don't do that. They'll need scientists.
Yeah.
So when we come on, we do the other half of that. So 2 of those grew quite big. And so I worked with those teams and watched and learned, oh, that's a board. Oh, this is how they raised A round. This is why they fell down on B round. And then I sat with the bankers, and then I learned I was basically a street degree in private equity, venture capital.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the hands-on, the stuff that you actually don't usually get from the degree into us.
Right? Correct.
Yeah.
The actual shit.
Yeah, the actual shit. Exactly. I graduated in entrepreneurial management. It's because I was already so far in my degree, and I was like, well, I got to just get it now. But it wasn't global supply chain management. Like, for some reason in the back of my mind, I thought that would be like kind of fun or whatever. And it was interesting, I suppose. I was getting through my degree. I'm like, okay, I've got to just finish this crap as fast as I can. I can't start over from like do something else, and I don't want to just like let go of 4 years of school. So I changed it to entrepreneurial management. I'm like, well, at least I know I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and so at least I'll learn some stuff. And then what I did is I specialized in venture capitalism.
Oh, nice.
And so I like took all my classes, had everything to do with venture capitalism because that's what I'm going to do eventually.
Yeah.
And so I get that. It's you learn a lot on paper, and there's a lot to learn on paper too. Like what a waterfall is. How do you structure a company so that way you can sell it later?
Yep.
But actually seeing it in person, that's a whole different ballgame. So that you learn kind of like the critical skills behind entrepreneurism and structuring a company anyways. So I guess, was it just like, what gave you the idea that you could go back to starting that company?
Ignorance.
Yeah.
And I think I said I'm completely unemployable, so I don't have a choice.
Yeah. You reach your limit at that place and you're like, I got it. Get something else.
Yeah, honestly, like the VC stuff is interesting because when you're talking about that, you're like, you went to university to learn all the VC shit. And you without doing it, you said structuring a company, all that stuff. I don't know about structuring a company. I just did it.
You just did it.
There's still, that's the biggest thing that bit me in the ass 10 years later. It's all about how you set it up.
Right.
Both my companies set up for fucked.
Oh, yeah.
And I paid dearly. And it was a big part of my recent exit. It was a big part of why there's 3 guys inside Cold War that have 10 million plus in equity. They haven't been there for 7 years. They were the original guys who were going to do all the work. I was young. They were old. 25 for you, 25 for you. We just did that.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything to do with like, hey, here's going to be options that vest a third over 3 years. And if you don't meet these targets, we're going to pull those back. All that structure you should have when you start, like, great, you want to be a partner? Good for you. 0. You get a third. And so will I. That way, corp does the work, we'll end up with it at the end. Yeah, didn't know that. We're just like, here's 25 for you, 25 for you, 25 for you. And I'm like, and I'll just tag along and help raise money, 5% for me. Dang, okay. The journey ends up that all those guys disappear in a year when the market turns down, 2016, they all just abandon. And I had raised all the money. Yeah, it's all my family and friends from all the guys in the field, all the guys, and we have no product. And so I just stayed committed. Yeah, we were bankrupt after our first $1.5 million with no product. We had to totally switch. And everyone left. Yeah. 10 years later, $250 million company, but it took 10 years of burning myself to the ground. And I had to fight to earn more than 5%. And these guys are still holding all that stock.
Wow.
And they've cashed out a couple million along the way. Yeah. I've cashed out 0 because I'm the CEO, the good one. Yeah. That holds to the end, first in, last out. And does all the work. Yeah. It's wild. It's just
when you were starting that company, what was it called again? Cold War. When you're starting that, I mean, did you think how big was it actually going to be? Did you have any kind of ambition for how big you want to make it? Or not just say, hey, there's a need that needs to be filled, and we just go try and fill it?
We didn't even end up doing what my initial idea was at all.
Oh, okay.
Pivoted off that completely.
Yeah.
Because they just market conditions dictated.
Yeah.
And I thought at the time when I started that if I built a $10 million company and 10 market cap, which I didn't even really know about multiples, I didn't know about or what revenue to want to hit. I didn't know what that meant. Mm-hmm. I'm like a $10 million company. Yeah, it's just people say that. Yeah. And if you're not in finance, you don't understand how you would value your company to get to 10 million and what industry you're in and all the multiples and target all that. So I didn't know, but that was the target. Yeah. And this is, again, I talk about this a lot with people because I became very unhappy over the 10 years. And at the end of it, I was to the point where I was like really depressed and isolated. No. But the 10 million, initial target, when you pass that, it took me a couple of years to dig out of that hole, but you pass 10 million market cap, whatever that is, to this private, and you pass the 20 million, and then you pass the 40 million, and then you pass the 50, and then the 80, and then 100, and now real money's in. And so now you actually know at some point you've learned how to value your company because you have to be able to defend your valuation for that private equity round. Yeah. And you have to be able to set the valuation where you're doing it in the sense that you try to minimize dilution, but you don't want to overvalue because then you're going to fuck yourself for the next round. Yep. Because you've overvalued and now you're not hitting your targets. And so you learn that game. Yeah. And so by the end of it is a $300 million company. And I don't even realize I've never stopped to think I hit my $10 million target. Destination anxiety and scope creep. It just keeps moving. Yeah. And none of it, because I was a young CEO that just did the thing to grow it all the way through. You haven't learned the lessons to stop and appreciate, to build for exit probably before you hate doing it, because the guy who built a $0 to $10 million company is very different than the 100 to a billion in personality, in skills, in attributes. And I'm trying to shoehorn myself in rather than step myself out and have the wherewithal and experience to know I don't want to prove I have an ego around getting it to a billion. Yeah. I'd rather step out because I'm an experienced CEO now and put someone in at 100. They'll get it there faster. And I don't have to work. If I structured it correctly, I'll have all the equity anyway. The problem was, it wasn't structured correctly. It is still only 5%. I was getting to be an experienced enough CEO where I knew all the ins and outs and all the shit now. And now I'm fighting with boards where I gained investment from British Petroleum and all these big oil companies have board seats in the oil. I know it. Yeah. And so now I'm asking, I need 10% of the company at once if I'm going to keep going, because the cycle I get stuck in is this private equity cycle where, I raised 1, 5, 10, but every time I do take that, you've got to double it. Right? I double the revenue. Yeah. And now I'm on this Ferris wheel. Never getting profit. Yeah. Because you go keep it just under that profitability to double the growth, triple the growth. And 10 years goes by and I'm just like the most stressed out person on earth because I've never had a day where I should relax because we're making money. Yeah. So I guess like at the beginning, like you kind of said, going from 1 to 10 million was completely different ballgame than that. So the beginning, I'm sure, was exciting and fun. You found partners and you built this thing from the ground. And so eventually you got to the point where it just kind of was entrepreneurial and just kept going and just kept going. And so I guess you got to, you were with that guy like 10 years or so. Yeah. So 10 years you invested into this organization on everything you got, it sounds like, right? You down in Houston, right? Calgary for the first 7.5. Yeah. And then Houston for the last 2.5. For the listener. So you're investing in all this, and I guess you never stopped to think like, man, I'm not actually, like, I became an entrepreneur. I want to create this thing so I can be my own boss. Did you ever kind of stop and realize I'm not my own boss anymore? Yep. Yeah. Well, yeah, you're not. Second, this is the other thing with Agora here. So like I said, I still have not sold my stock in that company. Yeah. It's still sitting. Well, let's talk about that real quick. So how did that all come to fruition when you're not at the company anymore? Like, what happened? So that's a long story, and there's two perspectives that I am currently personally and professionally involved in through. Yeah. Technically, what happened, the technical trigger, was that we had some record years, put big ARR contracts on the table. I won't say who, but big oil companies, ones you all did gas at. Okay. They, like, CEO level signed it. I was their homie. We're like this big deal. Yeah. People waited for that to happen. The company became ultra stable and rocketing. And then there was a few people that for a couple of years had been saving pictures on my Instagram, saving texts, mounting, and then putting incorrect context to them to formulate a story to make me look a certain way. Again, this is still some legal shit. So yeah, but it was mounted and it was purposeful. There was an anonymous email line set up that they shuttled this through to the board. They had researched the employment agreement, knowing some technicalities in there, and they structured their incorrect context accordingly to muddy the water to the point where it was going to have to go to a legal battle. They know that the process at that level with the big oil companies is not one of the CEO of me running something, and there's all this shit that gets sent. Yeah, that they have to fire first. Oh, wow. So it's not innocent until proven guilty. Yeah. Accusations levied. Fire. Me would have to then go get lawyers on my own expense to fight my lawyers at my company. Yeah. 6 of them. Yeah. That are a big corporation. Yeah. Big corporation. You've like hired them because they're really good at what they do. They work for me. But now they don't work. So in a heartbeat, one morning, bam, board call. What's all this? My big investors, billionaire guys, everyone's on. They're like, what the fuck? Yeah. It's something like really crazy. Like there's no, like I'm not going to jail or anything, but they're trying to get me fired. Yeah. Like stuff that is like technicalities. Yeah. So like these are the business margins though. They're people. Yeah. So they just create this narrative. I mean, were you just a bad boss or what? Like you ask yourself that question a lot, right? Because I think I was a pretty good boss. I think 150 employees. Everybody, and I mean everyone, stayed employed through COVID. And we lost a shit ton of money every month. And I didn't even lower anyone's salary. Wow. Everyone got paid to sit everyone on their ass. Yeah. And I do company events. I try to show up for all their kids' stuff. I had a house where my office in Texas was blended with my house. It had podcast studios. It was a big house, front room, because I wanted people to be in my life, to be around. So I was with that company 24/7. Wow. It was my life. I didn't have kids. I didn't have family. Never took time off. Was all playing every other week. People were in my house. My employees were personal friends. Everyone was there. I thought that was the way to do it, because I'm like, I am personal friends with all my employees.
Yeah.
Now
that gives you too close.
Because now they know everything in my personal life. And that's what they ended up actually the ones. But when they get greedy and when they want to hang you, when bad actors get in there, because there will be, people don't agree with you. See what you got. They think they could do it better. Jealousy. Most of it was jealousy because there's so much money on the line.
Right.
And they see how you're doing things. And they're like, I don't agree with that. And then you have bad blood with one of them. You got to fire one. And he was friends with another one. That with 150 people, it gets really complex.
Yeah.
And they're in my house. And I could say some of this stuff. So one of the things was you can't have guns on any of our property.
Oh, part of a contract.
Yeah, in my employment contract.
Yeah.
I live in Texas. This is my house. I have guns.
Yeah.
No. And I didn't think that for tax reasons, I'd put that house in the company that violated a contract I signed 4 years earlier in Canada. Never mind when I was in Texas. And it was meant for on location at the oil rig. Like,
right.
Of course, don't bring a gun.
Yeah.
This, not for this.
And you're in Canada anyway, so it's like you're going to have a gun in your house.
No one has guns. No. But now I'm in Texas, and they're in my own house, but my own house is part of property. This is the type of dumb shit.
Yeah.
Now, I said there's two perspectives on this. Yes, people took action that was unnecessary. Most of what got levied against me is my personal private life, that if I didn't invite everyone into my life, they wouldn't even know what I'm not. And wouldn't be, because there's nothing. I was growing the business. I was living for it. Like, as far as the CEO goes,
rocking on it.
Yeah. As far as blending my private life, I thought that was the move.
Yeah.
It turns out that was what people used to leverage. Now, I'm learning over the last 8 months of some super deep depression, some loss of identity, loss of everything I thought it was going to be. I don't know if I'll ever get my stock out of that company because of the legal thing that's going on.
Yeah.
I might get 30 million out of it. I might get zero. I don't know. After 10 years of work. And I thought that would kill me and crush me. Like, I couldn't live with that a year ago. That's why I had to get it to $1 billion. It's at 300 something right now. Had to get, I don't know why. 300 wasn't good enough. Couldn't even exit there. Had to be 5. Had to be $1 billion. And that would require another 20-hour days for the next 5 years. But 5 years would turn into 10, and 10 would turn into 15. And I earned the second perspective was radical accountability on this. I think I'm convinced now at this point with the universe and learning about flow and energy that I'm 42. My top priority in life has always been a family. I'm a guy that loves kids, loves family, loves doing stuff. I don't have it because I was married to that. And any free time I had, I was fucking stressed. And girls tell me all the time, I'm with a girl, I'm a girlfriend at the time. Yeah, I am somewhere else.
Yeah, not present.
No. And it ruined, I had pretty tumultuous relationships because they were always number 2. And so what I'm learning now is I think subconsciously, I'll paint this picture. I got the house in Texas. It's a big ass place, multi-million-dollar house with the pool, with the big glass walls, with the huge doors, like escalator to the garage, like all my shit. Yeah, this is what I dreamed of. I'm running a business, I'm big time CEO, lots of money. And I closed that wood door going into that house. And the echo was for car. I still know the noise. It's like a car crash. If you've ever been in a car crash, you'll remember a smell or a sound.
Yeah.
And it will trigger you 20 years later.
No.
Like any house around an event like that. No. I can tell you, if I hear that door rattle, I'll know that door.
Yeah.
And because what it triggered for me was like, every time I close that door, I'm like, I'm going to do something. I'm like, the next thing I could hear was pure silence. No kids, no laughing, no running, no friends, no family, no dinner being cooked, nothing. It's just fucking house. And I was like, it became the most depressing thing on earth. Yeah. Because every time you think, when you're that type of guy, like the type of person that does this, and you avoid whatever it is you're avoiding by diving into work, and you think that you can fill those gaps by spending money or earning money, right? Then the more you earn and spend, the more it becomes apparent that it's not going to fix it. Yeah. And you try to do it more to fix it. And eventually that wheel, you realize you're like, shit. Well, right? And so the second perspective on this whole thing, like what happened, I think subconsciously I manifested this. Yeah. Because I'll be I'd be like, I just want a family. Yeah. I just don't want to be stressed anymore. I don't want to be on like accountable board meetings where I have like oil companies yelling at me. Everyone's like, why? We only did X million. Why not this many millions? I'm like, yeah, I don't really care about that. Like that. And do you really care about what you're doing anymore? I cared about building something because I wanted my own job and to be creative. But do I care about reporting to a bunch of pencil neck dorks and sweater vests at the oil company? Now, some of my board members and partners are still my best friends today. Yeah, I'm actually going this weekend to Toby's house, and this other guy that he's our age. He sold his company for $7.8 billion. Dang, to an oil company. And then 2 years later, the oil company tanks. Then he takes it over on proxy. He's now the CEO of a $14 billion oil company. Largest kind of gas, and he's done like $3 billion deals in the mill. Anyway, that guy invested. He's still my own. Yeah. But the other guys on that board that were put there by BP and all these other people that don't know me, that I never talk to, that then have some type of authority over me, that think they're guys that went to school but never had a fucking job. Yeah. Never built a company. Yeah. And have a big fucking opinion. Yeah. And guys like me, I've had to learn a lot of humility throughout this process because guys like me don't get along with guys like that. Right. And I would instantly rip their head off, which is also ego. Sure. Now, it doesn't mean that they're right, because they don't know, and they're probably acting incorrect. You guys try to have egos as well, right? Why they have to use opinion, though.
Yeah, I really like what you said earlier about like the alignment part of it. I mean, the idea is, hey, you were making all this money, you're killing it, all these different aspects of their life, but you weren't living in alignment with what you were in. So when you said manifest, I honestly truly think that's the truth. Is like when you're not living in alignment, then you're almost going to act in a specific way. You're going to do things because you're not in alignment. You do weird things and you don't know why. Yeah. What you're doing is you're manifesting the fall, and then your body is almost naturally taking you towards what you're supposed to align it in the first place.
I think that's very insightful. The reason why I think your statement is correct is I remember how I felt. My nervous system, I could tell my nervous system was stuck. I felt like I could feel I was dying. I could feel stress killing me. Yeah, that's a real physical sensation. Every day I get up, like I couldn't breathe that, but I'd be like, today's a good day. Mentally, like today's a good day. And I'm like getting my Escalade and like go, with big earnings today. And I'm like, just try to relax. And I couldn't, my diaphragm wouldn't relax. My neck wouldn't relax. So then my nervous system was just shot. Yeah. And so like talking to my employees or something, I try to keep it together, and 15 different people every day, one-on-oneing me, plus try to raise private equity, plus try to run, plus try to. I'm just like, I fucking hate this. Yeah. And so I think manifesting, the things they hung me on, they're like, look at the picture of all these guns on the counter and all this other shit.
Why would you have done that unless it wasn't something that you're like physically acting out of accordance to what you normally would do, just because you're out of the line, you're not in the right headspace? And yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like you're internal, like where you're supposed to be, and like kind of like your soul almost, like who you are. When you're not living according to that, then it's like you're not in control of what you're doing anymore. It's your body is going to do things, and you're going to make decisions that don't make sense because you're not doing what you like, something that's true to yourself. Yeah, it sounded like that was a lot of years of accumulation that happened for it that resulted in the big thing at the very end.
Yeah, honestly, it was probably the biggest gift. And I mean that genuine. I don't know if people might say that to kind of defend themselves from, oh, it's a gift, I'm going to look at it like a gift. I feel truthfully in my soul it was a gift. And subconsciously, if I'm going to bed every night in Texas, I'm like, I started on this. I just want to be happy. I want a family. I want to be normal. And I just want to not be so stressed out every day that I'm 10 days ahead of what I think I need to do then. I'm worried about it. I could never make enough money to not be stressed. I was in scarcity mindset all the time. And so that's what I wanted. And then when all this group blew up, I thought people were just screwing me, and I was mad. I was going to go after it. It took me about a month with the lawyers, and I just said, stop, let it go. Give it to them. I'm done. No fighting. Here's the agreement. It's theirs. And then I let it go and moved on. But for that 1 month in the middle there, I was going to go for throats. I was going to kill people. I wanted to take it all down. Right?
Yeah, storm the castle, man.
Oh, buddy. Now, they knew they got me too, though, because if I do that, so they get me fired based on the process, back a little bit. The process is fire the CEO and he has to defend himself, and then he can be reinstituted, but they can't take the liability in the middle, because if that's true, and they didn't fire me, then now they're liable as a board. Oh, right? That's how this works. And so, boom. So I thought, okay, we're going to go to fight now. I called a few of my guys. We'll get backing. We'll go to war. Problem is, a CEO suing his own company and in a big battle will tank it. Yeah, probably. And so in my stock price, everyone's stock price, mine I actually care less about, but like all of my money, stuck in there. They know that. Yeah. But moreover, it's like all my friends, family, and the guy in Pennsylvania, everyone that trusted me, his money's in there.
So what are you gonna act out of what you've been living according to for the past 2 years? You're gonna tank some over an ego,
right? And say you do, say over an ego, you and deservedly you have every right to fight. Yeah, absolutely. But let's say you win that, I get my 20, 30 mil or whatever out of it, or it goes down to 10. I take 10 out, but the company's screwed. Yeah. Now what? Now everyone else lost that money. They're all, I toasted the company. So now everyone that I promised I would, and there's no winning. No. And you spend 2 years, my employment lawyer said, this will take 2 years, you'll win. And I'm like, oh man, every day I wake up, I got a knot in my stomach. And I'm just like, they made it out. So 1 month of that, and then I just said, let it go. After that, why I say it's a true gift is I just sat at home being depressed for 3 or 4 months. I went and saw family. I traveled around. I did things to stay busy. Yeah, no work. But it started to come to me that it occurred to me that, I'm just consuming podcasts and self-help stuff like out of control.
Yeah. Well, that's when you joined the coaching group that me and you were both a part of, is that?
I know. This was only like 8 months ago, and now my coaching group's over. So I don't know when it's right here.
Yeah, you've already been in. So you like learning everything. So you're able to kind of like, hey, you've been learning this stuff. Like, yeah, now it's time to put it to the test. So you're actually going to do what you've been learning for a year and a half. Man, that's crazy. So yeah, I mean, my favorite thing to talk about on here is like transition periods, right? And so you've had a lot of those transitions. And so there's very few people that can say that they were a founder and a CEO of a multi-million dollar company, and then got the rug pulled out from underneath them. And you were pretty much stuck with nothing, right?
Well, that was the second time. I skipped over Raptor Rig. Oh, so we in the middle of all this in 2016. I started a drilling company with 4 guys. I was the 4th partner. So they were the operating guys. We were the money guys, but I own 30%. Yeah, we did. And that we raised $50 million from Halliburton. We built fully automated drilling rigs, went to Saudi Arabia, deployed them for Aramco. It was crushing. They were the fastest rigs ever on that project. It went to 300 million market cap fast within like 3 years. And then I told them when we were raising money, because Halliburton came in. That people might not. Halliburton's a monster service company. Okay. They're like the biggest in the world. And so they own everything oil and gas for all this shit. And so they lend money to people like us that are innovators. Yeah. But I'm like, do not, because they crush for IP. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And you'd never take all your money from one investor. That's like a goal to the road. Yeah. Because then you're beholden. And my operating guys were like, no, these guys are going to give us a brand name distribution, get us into Saudi. And they did get us into Saudi. But then COVID hit. The VP, who was our guy inside Halliburton, got fired. So he's the champion. He's gone. Oh my. Now the big red monster of tens of thousands of employees. And our company, which we think is a big deal, is 300 million with some drilling tech, is just here. And our contract gets shoveled over to corporate finance. The finance guys look at it and they're like, COVID, this is losing money. This goes in the losing bucket. Liquidate. That's all the thought that goes into it. That's it. Yeah.
Because it's a multi-billion-dollar company. So I need you hundreds of it. So 300 million. I don't like whatever. What? Why would we keep a $300 million anything stupid about that?
And they have rights on the IP. Oh. So $300 million loss overnight. That Wednesday the doors were locked and the IP's gone. Anyway, that was the start of COVID. Then Cold War was a different one.
Yeah. And so that was how many years after that until Cold War happened? Like 4 or 5 years?
Yep.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. So you learned a lot of lessons over those 4 or 5 years, but it wasn't enough. And then eventually, it wasn't enough. Sorry. Yeah, a little could not so hot. Wasn't enough. Dang it. Brandon didn't learn the lesson the first time. So, shoot, did you get kicked out? And then you also get kicked back to Canada, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they revoked your visa or whatever, right?
That was a crazy day. Yeah. So Cold War is not zero. I'm the largest shareholder still.
Yeah.
But it's all in warrants because, like I explained, the initial structure was wrong.
Yeah.
And so most of what I own was fought for through warrant allocation because you can't give stock once there's an actual value to the company.
Gotcha.
It has to be issued at a certain price, so they issue a warrant at 0.0001.
Gotcha.
Now, the trick with that is that it's warrants and not own stock. And so warrants have a period where they'll expire. And there's 2 different chunks of warrants. One are at 0.001 and some are at 25 cents. That's just because over time they had to be somewhat nominal amount valued. Yeah, well, yeah. But the problem with that is to exercise those warrants before they expire is going to be $700,000 or $800,000 in capital gains tax. That's to be paid pre-realized gain.
Oh gosh, what? So you got to come up with $700,000 to $800,000 to pay in taxes for something that you don't even have. What?
Correct. Of my own stock, of my own company that I build the value, that we build the value.
So you got to ticking clock on it, don't you? So now I see where all the hustles coming from. Now this,
well, it's true. Yeah, now that could be zero.
Yeah.
Now the 0.001 warrants I could exercise, nominal, and sell and pay and exercise. So there is there, but it's going to cost me $1 million of my own stock. Whatever. So it's just complicated.
Yeah.
I don't know. So we'll see. I'm just leaving. I got time still. They may sell the whole company. That's kind of the board's. Since I left, the board wants to sell the company.
Oh, okay.
That would be ideal. Then there's a liquidation. And
yeah. And then you get the waterfall, people get paid. Yeah, exactly. So the question I have is like right now, I mean, you have this ticking thing for making money, but then you also are an artist. Like you've mentioned this a few times, like you care about art and care about being creative, and you have these business ideas, you want fulfillment. You've learned a lot as a person, and I dare say based on your story, it sounds like you're almost a different person you were a few years ago when that happened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's kind of the motivating factor right now? Is it money, or is it this idea that you want to? I mean, you've always wanted to be your own boss, but it's got to be something more than that because you saw what happened when you only focused on being your own boss, right? So tell me more.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's a good observation. So the money is zero. I don't care. Like as I know what happens when. So Cold War, I founded Cold War because I said, well, I wonder how I can make what's the company that I could get up to $1 billion? And I was like, I just want to make hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. Wrong intent, right?
That was it.
Yeah.
I didn't even have an idea. It was like, that was literally my starting point.
Yeah.
I want to make hundreds of millions of dollars. And what can I do? Oh, tech. Like, all these guys are making so much money in tech.
Yeah.
Right? And so I go there. And then, oil and gas. I can blend tech and oil and gas. Oh, it's going to be, I need private equity. Oh, I'm going to need. And then you're always chasing that $1 billion valuation.
Yeah.
And so there's the whole story.
No.
This time now, so get out of that, and you spend 8 months, last 8 months of my life, just really thinking through, and the time went by where I didn't get the family. I didn't have time for this. I didn't have time for that. So what I really want, I want family. I never want a job again. I wrote down everything on piece of paper.
Yeah.
I never want to be anywhere, any day, at any time that I don't choose to be there ever again. That's a must. So never, you have to be at this time at this place because this guy wants to do the thing for him. Yeah, don't care. No job. No investors. I don't want to work for anybody. No equity. And I have to do stuff that I love, that I'm passionate about. So I wrote down my passions. I like creating art. I like creating content, actually, part of this. Yeah, love it. Yeah, it's fun. So art, content, these are roughing this all out. And I'm like, I like building businesses.
Yeah.
But not
at the beginning stages.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, yeah.
Exactly. Beginning stages, or the scaling, or like the ideation, vision, marketing, sales, like helping people figuring that out for myself. But actually that when you get into if you're raising private equity and then you're reporting and all that, the stuff that has to come with a business like that. No,
Yeah, you don't want that part of it.
no. So that's what I'm like, okay, how do I, that's not a business. All these things I love. And I want to be in the States. I got to get back to Utah.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm working with Mark at ADP potentially for the visa and doing a job with him and helping scale his business and just to satisfy the visa. But then I'll invest and start into Me Too visa. And then the thing down here was the general idea was like, I think I want to do like a blend of like graffiti street art gallery with an accelerator. And that's kind of where it started. Like I want art, I want company, I want this and content creation, like YouTube and Instagram and all that.
Yeah.
That's going to be distribution for these two eventually. Oh, the big thing with content too is that I want insurance.
Oh, okay.
I want to ever worry about if things blow up again.
Right.
If you have a big following, you just switch gears.
Yep.
You're selling toasters, you start selling food.
Yeah. Yeah. People will follow you where and decide to go.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a big driver for the content. It's like stability, especially going in the next 5-10 years of all digital shit that's going on.
Right.
Having an online presence is super important. Really. So those things, I just started looking around. That's now evolved 5 different ways. I went downtown, found a building.
So before you even knew exactly what it was going to be, like you had a good idea. Again, what I really just admire is that you put yourself on the streets and you're like, well, let me just find a building. Let me talk to people about building spaces, right?
Yeah.
And then you find a building, like, cool, this would be like a good space where it's like a good canvas. Like, hey, if I have a building, if I have a canvas, then I can kind of create and I can figure it out, I can mold what it needs to be. And then, of course, you just keep talking to people and keep putting yourself in the right place where you can have conversations where you can figure out what you want to do.
Yeah. The path, when you start walking down the path, it illuminates.
Yeah.
Right. So if you don't just start going, then nothing shows up and no conversations happen. And your path that will go like this, you can't pre-predict how it's going to go like this. Get it all laid out, get comfortable that, okay, now I know it's going to look like this windy thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't know that.
No.
And so, the first thing was get to the States, talk to Mark about his company, get the visa, find a guy like Mark. That was great.
Yeah.
Get that visa done. Then we're going to invest and do the new company. I'm like, oh, that one will have to be, first thing first I just knew is like, it has to be in a cool spot. Like a space that is inspiring. Like I love old warehouses, like 100-year-old shit. Easy. Whatever it is going to be in a spot like that. Yeah, I know the business will evolve and change for its final form. So I drove everywhere from Lehigh to downtown in a grid.
Oh, okay.
Every street.
Really?
Yeah, it took me a week and a half.
Wow.
I got a rental car, flew down here, just got a place to stay and just drove up and down.
Yeah.
Because I want to find all the buildings. And I'm like, get a general sense of I didn't know the area.
Yeah.
So I wrote down all the addresses. Every time I find a building, I'd write the address, find a building. And then now I know, the granary is pretty cool. Post District's cool. There's these areas generally where the cool buildings are.
Yeah.
The Silicon Slopes and the hills there by Thanksgiving Point, that's new. Nothing cool there.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I was consuming this thing online yesterday and it was like, there's two different types of like industrial, like real estate and architecture. The stuff that like looks like it's gonna fall over within the next year, and the stuff that's built to last like 1 billion years.
Yeah,
and you kind of have to find like somewhere in between that to play. And so that's awesome. So you're driving around, you're just doing the legwork right now. Right?
Yeah. Well, that was a month ago. So I drove around, I found the building, and then I came across this one building that I just like, well, that's dope. And it's the AZ building downtown across from Traeger's headquarters.
Okay.
But it's 30,000 square feet. Wow. It's big. It's 100 years old, and it's in the busiest street in Utah. 65,000 cars a day go by. It's expensive as shit.
The
whole building would be like
grandma. Yeah, that sounds expensive.
Yeah, and so it's like I was looking for a building that was like a tenth that and all this, but I just kind of had this inkling. I'm like, that's the building, and so like, too much for me. But let me find out who owns that and just talk to them.
Yeah.
Let's see. And this is what I would advise people on when they're trying to figure stuff out for their businesses.
Yeah.
Don't write that building off because it's too big.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I can build companies that support, like my SG&A and what I had to pay on my last company. I had about $3 million a month net that I had to pay out for burn rate. And so figure that out. So $100,000 I could figure that out.
Yeah.
If I had the right business. I don't know exactly what it takes to support that yet. And I know that let's just say the off chance the guy who owns that has some synergies with what I want to do. Don't know. maybe he'd be willing to do it in phases. Maybe he'd be willing to cover half the cost if the right thing was there. I don't know.
Right.
So I wrote down all the signs, talked to the realtors, said who owns this, found the private equity guys. Luckily, I have private equity experience, so now the experience comes in. And, I sit with them. I get them on the phone. I'm like, hey, what are you doing with this building? What is it? What's important to you? Net leasing it? Is it trying to maintain the loan from the bank and you have to have occupancy? Or do you own more buildings around it and you're trying to convert the neighborhood? And they're like, well, it's kind of a bit of both. But I'm like, because I got an idea here, but I drove this whole city. You guys, like this downtown district right in this area has like 30 of the sickest buildings. And I want to put a tech accelerator in there with an art gallery with street art and blend artists with entrepreneurs, and I'll run that. But this is too big of a building. It's too expensive to do that in unless I had some partners. But I think like this, the what's going on in Salt Lake right now is like Thanksgiving Point. That's where everybody, when I talked to everyone over the last one, it's like, that's where you got to go. That's where everyone is now. And I'm like, yeah, sure. But Thanksgiving Point is an Oracle and a bunch of drive-thrus, like 1,000 space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have been talking about like the little Draper area because the prison is gone.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, well, then we're just getting closer to Salt Lake. I'm like, I'm in the opinion with you. I'm like, Salt Lake is going through a growth right now that has never been seen. And the idea of art and tech, it's literally Utah. Like literally Utah. Art and technology and business. And yeah, you can combine those three things pretty easily. So what did the private equity dude say?
So this is the interesting thing. This is the universe thing. Yeah. Allow it to flow and figure out exactly what you want to do so that you can speak passionately to it. And this is the point of following. If you're truly passionate and genuine about shit that you attract and manifestation, this is now, I'm learning this, so I'm not trying to preach.
Yeah.
But like, I just know what I want it to be. And I'm putting out the best of my knowledge, what I think it should be in that moment. And then I learn and I change it and evolve it. Right. That's attracting this so many situations and opportunities in the last month that I can't deny going for the maximum version of this.
Yeah.
And it is the whole building. The guy's name is Brendan Blazer. It may not work out too. Like, you put this on this podcast. Everything fall apart in the 12th inning.
Yeah.
And you're back to starting over. But that's also probably part of the process. I can't. So you can only control your output, not the outcome. Right. That's what I learned. And I'm like, just happy with that. And then now there's no fear to tell people that this is what I think it's going to be, because it could change, it could fail.
Yeah. And you're okay with this. Fine.
But Blazer, because I had this whole thing, he can tell I'm genuine, I'm full of enthusiasm, and I have the right experience.
Yeah.
And so I talked to him from private equity perspective. I give him my analysis of driving this grid.
Yeah.
I'm like, here's my analysis. Thanksgiving Point is what the last 10 years have been exploding. You have downtown here 30 or 40 character buildings that are the sickest, dopest spots that people would want to work in.
Yeah.
But that need to be converted to Class A. But everyone thinks it's homeless crackhead central, which it is.
It is currently, yeah.
Right. But that's what everyone in Salt Lake tells me. Go to Lehigh. Forget downtown. It's a shithole. Okay, hold on. Just take it. Think about this for a sec. Salt Lake's like number one in economy, number one in housing, number one for families, number one for all this. You got Park City 30 minutes away. Mountains right here. Beautiful weather. Great. This city is primed to it's already attracted me a ton of people.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving Point's full. Great. You could go there if you want. That might make sense for certain companies.
Yeah.
But if you're a commercial real estate developer, which then I can see Brandon's eyes kind of lighting up, I'm like, I'm buying all these buildings right now. The NHL team's coming 3 blocks away.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, the NHL team's there.
Yeah.
These buildings are what tech people want to work in. Buy them all, including the Rio building.
Yeah.
Switch it all over and get 1 or 2 tech anchors like what they did in Venice Beach in LA 15 years ago. Snapchat and what other one of them did in there? Snapchat and someone. Anyway, we were there when I was there at the accelerator.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Venice went from crackhead central on Abercrombie to the most expensive real estate because it was dingy, character-filled, gritty.
Yeah.
Tech companies now. Now all of a sudden, all these old buildings, there's a bunch of Porsches up front.
Right.
And where do you think all the tech entrepreneur people want to be? Somewhere they want to feel cool, grungy, gritty. They don't want to go to a white box in the
Yeah, exactly. Because then it'll make them feel like they're part of like in a cubicle.
That's it.
Yeah, if they can be in like an expensive place with like character and personality, then they did convince themselves that they're not in well, that just where we all of us want to work. Yeah, none of us would want to work in something that's brand. I mean, there's brand new, bright and shiny, which is good if you can make it your own. Yeah, and it's got a lot of your character in it, the way exactly you want it to be. Yeah, but there's something about taking a space that isn't perfect, and making it your own. And it's probably won't ever be like perfect exactly what you want it to be, but it's got its own character that brings it to the table and that makes up for the difference.
I agree. And it's so like, I tell Brandon this, and he's like, okay, so I'll show you. So I walked into the building. I'm like, who owns the like, he's upstairs. I'm like, I'm going to go talk to him. I never met him. 3-hour meeting. He whips out his whole portfolio. He shows me all his buildings. So it turns out he owns 60 acres. He bought all of it. So everything that I just said to him, he's like, that's exactly.
He's already done it.
He's like, I bought all this. He's like, so what you just said is right. And he did that. We think it's right.
Yeah.
And we're developing. So they're putting in malls, hotels. They're converting everything. And the building that I picked is it's the busiest corner. Wow. And he's like, I've turned down 5 companies to be in your robotics company, profitable ones to be de-risked, all this.
Yeah.
He's like, but what I want is I'm going to put a big wall. I was going to have like graffiti artists in.
Yeah.
I need this to be like an arts building with culture and to attract people. And I was like, there it is.
We're talking.
There it is. And so he's like, we've now been talking for 3 weeks, and he's like, I'll phase you in. We're homies. He's like, I'll give you this part for this, great terms. I'll help you like get this up and running. We're still working on the term sheet, but sure, let's say no payments for 6 to 12 months. Just get it in, get it working, get your tech companies, get high traffic, get artists.
Yeah.
Put it all together. He likes it in.
Yeah.
So now if we can get this to terms, which where I'm at now in Pennsylvania, get an operating line from Toby, sign this LOI, and then we build that 100-year-old warehouse. There's going to be a graffiti gallery in the front, but picture a bunch of neon pink and glass offices with full kitchen inside and conference rooms, LED video wall that's 20 feet tall, embedded media teams, all that's going to be there. And we're just going to build it in phases, and we'll have an offering. There's like 3 floors on one side, 40-foot warehouse on the other. Like, this is all 2 months ago. I'm like, I have no money.
Yeah. But what you did is you found someone who has the same kind of values as you, like have the same vision. And that's the key, is like, you can, as an entrepreneur, they tell you all the time, don't do it alone. Like, you're going to feel lonely at times, don't get me wrong. But if you can put yourself, or you can meet people that have the same kind of vision, then they're going to be more enthusiastic about helping you than anybody else, with whether the money is there or not. So I thought this guy was pumped. And what was the name of the space in them?
The AZ building.
No, you just say old produce building. Yeah. But I guess the company that you're structuring to provide this value to the space.
Oh, Agora.
So he's excited about Agora too.
Yeah, Brandon's cool as hell. He's about 48, the Mormon guy, he's a commercial real estate guy, and he just wants to do cool shit.
Nice.
Agora, the name, it comes from, Agora was the name of the building in Athens, which was the central town hall where like Plato and Pythagoras and all those guys would meet to philosophize, come up with trade, commerce, everything. It was like everything that was happening in Athens at the time happened at Agora.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So I think what works really well.
Agora for Salt Lake.
Uh-huh. So I'm trying to think of the exact how to define the building, the business too. But I think like private business club, because it's not really an accelerator. Because I'm not a private equity guy just trying to give you money.
Right.
I'm more blending creative with scalable businesses, and then I'm going to be there helping scale, and then the media team is going to be the functional. These guys that I met, that Mark knows, Scallywag, they got 10 billion views. They built A4 ads, they a bunch of other channels. Okay, so I think they're going to be the guys that come in and do the functional media, and that helps scale. And then I'll do the strategy for scaling for these businesses, and so Mark wants to come in and help that too.
Nice.
And we bring the creatives in, and we know how to talk creative and business, put them together. But you can't keep scaling your business just based off numbers and analysis. You need to tell a story, right? And so let these guys help you with the story.
Yeah.
And I think that will work really good.
Yeah, I think it will too. Man, what an awesome concept. That it's obviously so true to you, who you are, right? Blending the artist and the business here. I mean, just some of the paintings that you've been doing, and freaking awesome too.
Oh,
yeah. I saw like your Instagram was littered with amazing art, and then your story of the business side of it is just so compelling and so educational for anybody that can be listening to them. What is there anything else? I mean, if someone was trying to support you in this, what's one way that we could bringing attention to it, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, everyone here is just so good. My Instagrams and all my stuff is great. I'm definitely more like I like meeting people and being in contact and network. Like supporting me is like it just comes if you're with the right people. And I truly believe more in service of other people right now. So rather than support me, if there's something I can help anyone listening with, I'd rather put my Instagram out there for that.
Perfect.
Well, what is my name? Brett.Chell.
Brett.Chell. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Very cool. Thank you so much for coming on. We're gonna have to do another one of these after Agora just explodes. It was like the spot to be in Salt Lakes. I appreciate you having on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.